You're listening to Iron Sharpens Iron with Latreese Cooke. If you'd like to donate to support this and other programming on Austin Community Radio, email Bob at kazifm.org. Thank you.
Good morning, KZI listeners. This is Latrice Cooke, and you are tuned in to the Iron Sharpens Iron program here on 88.7 FM. And I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and are in the holiday spirit preparing for Christmas. My Thanksgiving was really good, and enjoying family and friends and reflecting on the things to be thankful for. And one of those things is freedom. We have promoted that the show, which this is my last show this year, would be discussing visitation to the prisons, do's and don'ts, and our organization, MEEELJ's annual gift giveaway and all that. But instead, this show will have a discussion with a well-respected and nationally known guest. And I'm so excited this morning. I just want to say to you all, thanks for your continued listening and support of this particular show. This show was designed for persons who have previously been incarcerated and their families. And I just want to encourage you all to know that this is your opportunity to have a voice and to hear about the resources and things that are available to you, and that you be encouraged to know that there is someone and some entities that are concerned about your well-being and your continued progress. And so I have to say that before I start this interview. And I just want to say that we have this guest who has given of his time. And so without further ado, educated in the Dallas Public Schools and a graduate of Prairie View A&M University, and later earned a law degree from Texas Wesleyan University in Fort Worth. Craig Watkins was elected District Attorney of Dallas County in November 2006, becoming the first African-American District Attorney in Texas. District Attorney Watkins has created safer communities for Dallas County families and businesses. He has implemented innovative programs ranging from utilizing new DNA technology to catching repeat offenders to establishing gang prevention units in order to help reduce the crime rate in Dallas. Watkins' internationally recognized conviction integrity program uses DNA technology to put the guilty in prison where they belong. During the past 4 years, Watkins' steadfast commitment to the integrity of the criminal justice system in Dallas has garnered national and international attention. Under Watkins' leadership, the Dallas County DA's office has achieved a 99.4 conviction rate and has focused on protecting the most vulnerable in our society. His conviction integrity unit has reviewed more than 300 cases and helped free 33 wrongly convicted inmates. Mr. Watkins has received numerous awards for his conviction integrity unit and was named Governing Magazine Public Officials of the Year in 2008. Mr. Watkins has also appeared on several national shows, appearing on major networks, Fox News Channel, MSNBC, CNN, Nancy Grace, The View, and even Oprah, to name a few. He just recently appeared on the national CBS early morning show when they loaned back Jack Ruby files to the JFK Museum in Dallas for the first time. He is a husband and a father of three, and he is our guest this morning on the Iron Sharpens Iron program. Good morning, Craig Watkins, and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I want to kind of jump right into the questions, and I want to let the callers know that you are able to call in to 512-836-2887 as our interview progresses. What prompted you to run for and want to become a district attorney?
Well, it's been a goal all my life. I always wanted to be an attorney, and when I started practicing law, I thought the natural progression was to go into an office where I could have an impact on the community, and the best one I thought was to be the DA and really change the policies on how we pursue justice for all citizens. Not just in Dallas County, but the state of Texas. And so I decided to run for DA, and I was fortunate enough the second go around to win that election and implement policies that challenge the traditional approach to criminal justice.
Did you have any kind of personal exposure to the prison system, maybe from family or friends that you feel has given you a different insight than most persons that hold a DA position like yours?
Sure, I do. I mean, just being an African American male in the United States, you know, you have a skewed view of law enforcement and how they deal with you on a daily basis. It's not one of confidence, and I wanted to basically give confidence to all citizens. In fact, I've had family members that have served long prison sentences, and also my great-grandfather was executed by the state of Texas back in 1934.
Wow.
And so I bring all that to the table, and it's from the standpoint of seeing in the community that I grew up in that people of color are more likely to be victims of crime and also victims of law enforcement that does not respect them and are there to basically make their lives better.
It was strongly emphasized when you were elected in 2006 as being the first black to ever be district attorney in Texas. What does that mean to you? And you kind of touched on that a little bit, but I want you to elaborate. What does that mean to you? And has it had any effect on how you're viewed running the DA's office when you're implementing policy or speaking about issues?
Yeah, I mean, when I got elected in 2006, I was not aware that I was the first African-American DA. In fact, at the swearing-in ceremony, it was mentioned by Senator Royce West, who was part of the swearing-in ceremony. I didn't know that. So after that, I started to look at this thing and say, wow, this is bigger than what I thought. I mean, I get to be, you know, go down in history as the first African-American district attorney. And it's impacted me from the standpoint, and not just of being the first, but just my life experience has basically driven me to really put positive changes on how we deal with our criminal justice system. There's so many things that need to be addressed with our system, and fortunately, our country is at the point to where they're actually having conversations on, you know, talk shows and in the national media about the mass incarceration of people of color and why is that happening? Is our system, you know, fair to the average citizen, and what are we doing? And how can we basically have credibility with all citizens and not just a certain segment in the past, in the 60s and 70s, that kept people in power, and now demographically things have changed, and so you have an African American president, and you have an African American DA, and so that means that these people are engaged politically, and so that means that we have to address the issues that they deal with on a daily basis, and from my standpoint, the number one issue that they deal with happens to be a failed criminal justice system. And so I want to be the spearhead of bringing it to the forefront and making a difference and allowing our country to move forward.
Because of that, just expounding just a little bit more on that, have the things you implemented caused you negative repercussions, being the first and understanding some of the things of Dallas alone?
Well, yeah, over the last year, I've come to the realization, the last year in office, I've come to the realization that the rules are very different for me.
Wow.
And so I have to be cognizant of that, but it doesn't deter me on basically dealing with issues and bringing those to the forefront, because what I see in my experience is that all of the things that have been thrown at me, the negativity and the folks who want to make certain claims against me, have fell on deaf ear, and they have not been successful. Mm-hmm. So this last year has been, pretty significant, I think, in my own mental growth process to understand, the rules are different for me, but it's also encouraged me to keep moving forward, because my walk in life is, it's not going to be easy. But at the end of the day, when I'm 75 years old, someone will come up and say thank you for the things that you stood for and the battles that you faced, and not taking the easy
exactly
road where I could just be a DA and not really care about implementing change and retire and get a nice severance package and go on my way. But that's not my DNA. So I'm here for a reason, and I'm going to use it to make a difference. And it may be difficult for people that are around me who don't understand and see it. But I think that as we move forward and we keep going, that at some point they'll get it.
And I really admire the fact that you have taken the stance and the position that you are in fearlessly, and you have stood even with things that are not so popular. It's just amazing to me that you have been able to stand as long and with the integrity unit that has just really wreaked havoc on some things here in Texas and exposed some things in Texas, and we're just really happy for that. You are tuned in to the Iron Sharpens Iron show. I am Latreese Cooke, your host, and with guest Craig Watkins, District Attorney for Dallas County. We are going to have to take a minute and go to a break, and we'll be right back with you.
Support for KZI is provided by Shepherd's Carpet Cleaning.
Shepherd's Carpet Cleaning cleans residential and commercial carpets using the deep steam cleaning method. They inspect your carpet to determine your needs and will move some furniture and return it after they clean. Shepherd's is fully insured and bonded, and they use biodegradable carpet cleaning products which are good for the environment. After the job is finished, your carpet is inspected to ensure your satisfaction. They also clean tile and grout, upholstery, and dryer vents. Shepherd's Carpet Cleaning, working hard to make you happy. For more information, 512-317-4846 or shepherdscarpetcare.com.
Change your life and start on your college degree in 2014 with Austin Community College. ACC has the classes that transfer, online options, and free tutoring to get you ready for a bachelor's. We're #1 for transfer to UT and Texas State. And get this, ACC classes cost 74% less than other area colleges. Apply now at austincc.edu/get-started. That's austincc.edu/get-started. Don't wait. Spring classes begin January 13th. ACC. Start here, get there.
On the air at 88.7 and streaming 24/7 at KAZIFM.org. We are the soul of Austin.
And we are back on the Iron Sharpens Iron program, and I am Latreese Cooke with a guest in the studio, Mr. Craig Watkins, Dallas County District Attorney, and he's actually on the line. Craig, again, thank you so much for being with us, and I am going to continue on. Callers, you're welcome to call in to 512-836-2887, or you can stream at www.kzifm.org. Craig, I spoke with Paul Cates, Communication Director for the Innocence Project in New York on yesterday, just to discuss the fact that there being less than 10, actually 5, we believe, of conviction integrity units. And he was saying that Texas is the leading in the nation and is recognized and respected throughout the country for this work you started. Coupled with the fact that the DNA evidence and evidence for DNA has been kept as opposed to in other places like New York and Chicago, where they also have some of the same types of units, but not have kept the evidence to exonerate. From the time that you ran successfully and won a race, was the first point of business for you as a DA to establish a conviction integrity unit? And if so, why? Why a unit like this? And why is it, I know this is kind of a long-ended question, but why is a unit like this important to not just Dallas County, but any DA's office?
Well, when you're dealing with criminal justice issues, we have to impanel citizens from the community. And if you have a certain segment of our society that does not believe in, public safety, then it's less likely that you will be in a position to actually get the adequate punishment for a person that committed a crime. And so my whole thought process was, look, I come from a community that just does not trust law enforcement. Mm-hmm. I mean, and when I first became a lawyer, you had to be a registered voter to actually participate on a jury. And some years later, they changed that. All you had to do was have a driver's license. So that basically integrated the jury pool. And so you had all these diverse people that would come down and serve on juries, and you saw a drop-off of, the conviction rate within the Dallas County District Attorney's Office. And I think it was because people just didn't trust the system. Mm-hmm. And so in order for us to bring that trust back, we had to basically look at these legitimate claims of innocence. And unfortunately for our system, when I first started looking at it, we looked at 20 cases and basically 15 of them came back that the person didn't commit the crime. And so there's some legitimacy to the claim that I didn't commit a crime and I'm in prison for something I didn't do. And I think as we move forward, if any DA does not recognize the fact that we have a problem, then they may be the problem. We need to basically take a closer look at how we dispense justice in this country and not protect faulty convictions.
Have you experienced, just for speaking out and actually developing a unit like this from other, because I know you've been all over the country, people have called to sing your praises in many ways, and also to find out about this particular section of the DA's office, because I think that what people don't realize is that, it's larger than just this one little piece, but this has really given you a lot of national recognition because it's innovative for sure, something that just hadn't been done. And if it had been done, it hadn't been so grandiose as it is with you, as it is with your office, because, of course, you brought some things to light that people had already known was existent. Has this caused you, just with your colleagues, any kind of standoffishness, if you will, by them and their inability to embrace you and this particular thing?
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. In 2008, I was invited to speak to all the elected DAs throughout the state of Texas. I did that speech, and I talked about and I challenged them to basically change their approach and how they pursue justice, and the fact that there are people that have been convicted for things they didn't do. And people were walking out of the room. Fast forward to 2013, the same conference. They had a person that was wrongfully convicted who spent over 20 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And that person came, and he was the keynote speaker. They gave him a standing ovation. And so, obviously, yeah, I've had to deal with folks that are in my profession who are elected that saw me as an aberration. I think initially I was an aberration because I was African American, and then I became an aberration because I took seriously claims of innocence. And so, it's a struggle. And so, for us to move forward, I think I got to continue to struggle, and for me personally, I think I need to put aside some of the slights and some of the issues I've had to deal with on a personal level with individuals who just don't get it.
It is quoted, under your leadership, the Dallas County DA's office has achieved a 99.4 conviction rate and is focused on protecting the most vulnerable in our society by locking up sex offenders and child predators. Mr. Watkins, your office has a 99.4 conviction rate. This means to me that you're tough on crime, yet your office is the leading in the nation on exoneration. Isn't this kind of a mixed message?
Hey, don't use that word tough on crime. I mean, you're taking us back to the 80s. And
okay.
Willie Horton and the whole presidential campaign. No, this is not about being tough on crime. This is about being smart on crime.
Wow.
And so we're just being smart about it. And I think the smart approach is, hey, we're not here. And in the statute, our statute here in Texas, it basically defines the role of a prosecutor. And the first sentence is that a prosecutor is not there to seek convictions, but to seek justice. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look at any statute within any state, I think it says the same thing. And so I think we need to hold that dearly and basically seek justice. And when you do that, you become successful. That means that people believe in you. And what happened here recently, over the recent years, is that you have people that are not just from underserved communities or minority communities that have experienced a criminal justice system that didn't work for them. And so now we're in a position to take this message throughout the state of Texas and throughout the country because you have so many people that have a negative view of our criminal justice system over the last, 50 years.
This was a question that was submitted to me. Police shootings in the African American community continue to cause conflict and mistrust. The Texas Penal Code Section 9.51 gives peace officers a lot of discretion. Why are police officers seldom prosecuted in some of these types of incidents, and how have you approached the concept of an officer feeling threatened and the notion of reasonable objective behavior being cited to justify these shootings?
It's really hard to second guess police officers when they're in the heat of the moment, mm-hmm. but I think it's a legitimate question when you see that police officers are not being held accountable when they take a person's life unfairly, and it's a difficult proposition for us to move forward on it. And something that we're proposing right now is to basically have an independent investigation, because traditionally you have police departments that investigate their own officers. Mm-hmm. And I think that ruins the credibility of their investigation when you're investigating your own and you're there in most people's minds to protect them. And so we proposed ideas that will allow us to take that from police departments and allow an independent agency to investigate these police officer shootings. And I think, the benefit is that if a police officer wrongfully used deadly force, then they will be held to account. If they didn't, then they won't. But what you get is public trust. And I think police departments and their police officers association, that's another piece of the puzzle that is really not discussed, is that you have these police officer unions who are there really to protect officers for the right reason. But at some point, they lose credibility when they're protecting police departments or police officers that actually violate the law. And so I think, you look at the progress that we're making in this country, and for me, and because I guess I'm on the front lines, mm-hmm. I see the biggest issue that we deal with, not as an economic point, but law enforcement. Historically I look at slavery and how that worked, and then we fast forwarded, okay, we don't have that anymore, but we'll use our legal system to hold down these individuals who just want to pursue happiness within the country. I think this is the appropriate time for us to get past that, and maybe I'll be a beacon for that conversation as we move forward. And when you look at police officers, and you go back, 70 years, police officers were the ones that implemented the Jim Crow philosophical approach to the southern part of this country.
Wow.
And so we really need to challenge certain things, and not to the point where we are putting police officers in a precarious position to basically justify everything they do, but just to hold them accountable when they do violate the public's trust.
And you are listening to Dallas County District Attorney Craig Watkins, and can call in if you like, 512-836-2887. I'm so enjoying this, listening to you, and you were on a panel not too terribly long ago in Austin at the National Forum for Black Public Administrators, and I was a moderator for that. Do you remember that, Craig?
I've been to so many panels, it's kind of hard to keep up with them, so... Yeah,
I liked it. You're honest, but having said that, the reason I say that is because on that panel, I remember that you shared some things about your background and how this particular position had given you a lot of even more knowledge. You had gained so much more knowledge. And expounding a little bit on that for our listening audience this morning. Are you enlightened about the system even more from having the position or being in the position that you're in? And do you would you do this all again? Would you continue to do this? With the experiences, both good and bad.
Well, yeah, I think, someone asked me the other day, or just yesterday, is it worth it? All the things that you have to deal with professionally and personally, is it worth it for your family? And my response was basically, look, right now it may be difficult, but, if you look at, historically, if you look at issues that we've dealt with in this country, and one of my favorite people, and I always like to watch documentaries on Muhammad Ali, and when he decided not to enter the draft, and he fought that, and how he was demonized because he didn't, enter the draft, and look at him now, and he's basically the epitome of what it means to be an American. So no, right now, obviously, it's somewhat difficult. And when you're dealing with, average individuals who don't have the vision that you may have in trying to move things forward, you have to continue to motivate them to basically, hey, let's keep moving forward, and don't be afraid just because someone said something about you that's probably not true. So, yeah, I'm enlightened from the standpoint of I see it on a day-to-day basis in how our criminal justice system works, because I am the DA, and I'm on the front line of that issue, and it really gives me pause. Some of the things that I see that we really need, from a constitutional standpoint, to adhere to the principles that were laid out by our founding fathers. And I see that, unfortunately, race is still a prevalent issue, not just in our criminal justice system of our country, not just race, but all kind of other issues. If socioeconomic conditions, if your alternative lifestyles, and our country is slow to accept those issues, and from the little piece of pie that I hold, maybe I can, drive forward and help with this issue of criminal justice, which will transcend to other issues that we deal with in this country. So no, I see it firsthand, and it's, it's 2020. We're almost in 2014, and I'm thinking to myself when I deal with this on a daily basis, I'm thinking, wow, it's 2014.
Yeah.
Come on now, let's let's get past all of these long-held traditions that have not benefited our country. And you look at it, the standard of our country. Yeah, the standard of our country is failing, and it's not because of the leadership or the elected individuals, but it's because of the policies and the folks that have influence are unwilling to move forward. And so I think we're going to lose out if we don't take this opportunity right now to just move forward.
You and I have had this discussion about reentry and what that means to a person that has gone to prison coming back into the community. I am a tremendous advocate for persons that have previously been incarcerated and their families, which is why our organization MEEELJ even exists at all, is to work for those persons, providing services and resources to this populace and not send them on a monkey goose chase to all these different places, that continue to turn them away or whatever when they're already on limited resources coming out of prison. Persons who have been exonerated are almost in the same status as a normal parolee or person who's completed their time once they come back to their respective homes. They still have many of the same struggles in coming back to the community, or not possibility of not being able to attain employment, housing, or they have socialization issues and they don't have success with that. Are exonerees still labeled felons, or are they fully restored? And how do you feel about reentry for or support for persons that maybe have been convicted and that are now, released? How do you feel about redemption for them?
Yeah, I think exonerees actually are in a better position than the average person that actually committed the crime and they're trying to re-enter society. Exonerees, they'll get a full pardon, basically, where their record's cleared and they go out into society, and then they're compensated for their wrongful conviction. The problem you have with the average person that actually committed a crime is that crime follows them for the rest of their lives. And so when I talk about being smart on crime, it's not smart for us to hold a person accountable for the rest of their life for something they did when they were 17.
Absolutely.
And so, the goal that we're looking at is to implement legislation that allows a person who has made a mistake when they were young to actually have their record cleared so they can go out and pursue happiness and to make a life for themselves. When I was in private practice as a lawyer, I would have clients who had been out of prison for 20 years, and then whomever they worked for, they had a layoff. They would get laid off, even though they worked 20 years and had been clear of any criminal activity. Now they were faced with going and finding another job, and they couldn't do it because of their criminal history. And I think the smart approach is, if you committed a crime, you get punished for it, and after a certain amount of years, that is not a part of your record. That's the smart approach, because we actually give a person the opportunity to reacclimate to society and be a citizen and a taxpayer. That's just common sense. It makes sense for us to do that.
I hate to interrupt your thought here. We have a caller on the line. Caller, thanks for calling into the Iron Sharpens Iron show. You're on the air.
Yes. District Attorney Watkins, first of all, I wanted to thank you and applaud you for your service, not only to Dallas County where you are, but for those of us throughout the state that really believe in your message and what you've done as far as the Conviction Integrity Unit is concerned. I wanted to know really quick, what were your visions for this upcoming year and beyond?
Oh, I mean, you know, the vision is basically, look, to keep actually implementing policies that progress our criminal justice system. The issue that we just talked about, I think that we need to pass legislation that will allow us to hold folks accountable for the crimes that they commit, but also give those folks an opportunity to reacclimate to society. And you know, the office that I'm in charge of is the second largest in the state of Texas, and we have a lot of influence in Austin. And some of the archaic policies that we have in place need to be changed. One good thing that we have fortunately been able to do as a result of Michael Morton, who was wrongfully convicted, is to basically require the prosecutors and the state to basically give evidence to the defense so they can adequately prepare. But at the same time, we also need to look at how can we restore the lives of victims. Mm-hmm. When you're a legitimate victim, what can we do to make sure that you're restored? And restitution by the defendant is not enough, because largely, most times, defendants don't have the resources to pay restitution. And so from a state perspective, we need to look at our resources and make a determination on what we can do to restore these individuals who have been harmed, who may have been harmed from the standpoint of where they may not be able to have a living wage and work because of something that happened to them. And from a state perspective, when we pursue a prosecution of a person that did that, we also need to restore our victims to give them the opportunity to reacclimate themselves to our society.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, caller, for that call. Once again, you can contact us at 512-836-2887, and we are on with District Attorney Craig Watkins, Dallas County. And you were talking about, the last question was talking about investment in persons coming back into the community, and how you were saying that, it doesn't make good sense to continue to penalize a person after they've served their time and not allow them full restoration in their community so that they can live. And expound a little bit on what you believe as a person who has been an attorney and now in a prosecutorial seat, if you will. Can you tell me what you feel is an obligation of the counties to help persons who have previously been incarcerated to gain their footing? Should there be some kind of investment made back to those persons and their families?
Government can't do everything, but when you are basically charged with the responsibility of punishing individuals that legitimately committed crimes, that responsibility transcends not only to the punishment side of it, but also the rehabilitation side of it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when in Dallas County at some point, or in our state at some point, when we punish a person, we take their freedom and we send them to prison. Those prisons should be institutions of opportunity, and there should be a healthy dose of punishment. You should be punished for what you do, mm-hmm. but at the same time, we also need to look at the fact that this person is going to be released back into our society, and we need to prepare that person after their punishment to come in our society and be mm-hmm. law-abiding citizens and have the opportunity to reacclimate themselves. And so I think for the longest time, Texas has been, pretty healthy on punishment. but we've been lacking in rehabilitation. And so, I think what's lost in the conversation is that as DAs, you commit a crime, we're going to punish you. But at the same time, let's be realistic about this deal. Most people that are punished come back to our communities.
Yeah.
And if they come back to our communities, better criminals than when they entered their punishment phase, then we failed all around. And so the idea is, okay, we're going to punish you. But, hey, when, as a part of that punishment, we need to basically give you a skill.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do whatever you did to enter the prison system when you get out. And then have corporations. And that goes back to this whole idea of having a record stigmatizing you for the rest of your life, because corporations look at that and they don't want to hire you. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is, let's punish you, rehabilitate you, and then provide an opportunity for you so you can be a healthy citizen.
We have a caller. Caller, thanks for calling the Iron Sharpens Iron program. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. We all know that the war on drugs has been basically a failure, and they've scheduled the drugs, and I think it's 5 different scheduling of drugs, and they base it on addictability and what medical use they have. So I was wondering, is there any possibility of rescheduling these drugs and taking the penalties off of them? Because we know people are going to always have addictions to drugs. So why not and we know the pharmaceutical industry is killing more people with their drugs than anything else. So why not reschedule these drugs, take the penalties off of them, just tax the drugs, all of them, and people will have access to them. It would be basically a clean industry because people won't be standing on the corner shooting each other up, and having gang wars. There's a Freeway Ricky Ross and a Frank Lucas in every city. And I don't mean to be conspiratorial, but we already know that the government has a lot to do with the drugs flowing in and out of our community. And the recent report is that heroin is flowing out of Afghanistan at 36% higher percentage now. So why not just reschedule the drugs and take the criminality off of it? That's my question. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, you look you look at our drug policies, and I think statistically we look at the folks that are actually serving time in prison and using our tax dollars. They're in their own drug offenses, and so what do we need to do? We need to actually codify from the standpoint of if you're a drug seller or a drug user. If you're a drug seller, there should be a high tax on the standpoint of when you are actually convicted of selling drugs, and a high penalty. But if you're a drug user, that's more of a medical issue, because most people that are addicted are not criminals. Now, their addiction may lead them into criminal activity, but if we don't address their addiction, then we will basically use our tax dollars to incarcerate a person, and when they get out, they'll go back to that addiction. And so I think, it's a complex issue that we need to deal with, but I think it's an issue when you have leaders who have the wherewithal and the intelligence to look at it for what it is that, we have a lot of addicted people in this country. And until we address that addiction, then we will forever be spinning our wheels using tax dollars, the folks that, are legitimate and pay taxes and law-abiding citizens, to incarcerate these individuals, and then they get out and then they go right back. Yeah. That's just does not make sense
at all.
So let's deal with the addiction as opposed to just the punishment.
Yeah. And we'll have to take a break right here, and you are tuned into the Iron Sharpens Iron program. Callers, you're welcome to call in at 512-836-2887 as we are winding down a little bit, and have with us today Craig Watkins, District Attorney for Dallas County, and we'll be right back to you.
Support for KAZI is provided by the Millennium. At the Millennium, every Friday is Family Fun Day. Skate or bowl for one price from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Enjoy food from the East End Cantina. Hot dogs, hamburgers, fries, wings, catfish baskets, pizza, salad, fruit, ice cream, and more. That's Family Fun Day every Friday at the Millennium, 1156 Hargrave in Austin. More information at myec.net.
Support for KAZI has been provided by the Austin chapter of the NAACP.
Hello, Austin. This is Nelson Linder, President of the Austin NAACP. On December 14th at 6 p.m. at the Sheraton at the Capitol, the Austin NAACP will host the 40th annual DeWitty Overton Freedom Fund banquet. Our theme this year is equity as a basis for city government, the unfettered vision of Arthur B. DeWitty. Our keynote speaker this year will be Dr. William Jones, the author of The March on Washington, Jobs, Freedom, and the Forgotten History of Civil Rights. This event will honor Dr. Maria Christoffen, Superintendent of the Austin Independent School District, and this year's recipient of the prestigious DeWitty Overton Award. This event will also honor and recognize police officer Tanya Jefferson, this year's recipient of the Capital White Award. This event will include the President's Community Awards as well. We'll also allocate space for vendors. Last but not least, great gospel music by the Mount Sinai Baptist Choir and jazz by Miss Janice Jean. For additional information, please call 512-695-6674 or 512-476-6230.
Support for KAZI is provided by ANG Event Planning and Photography.
ANG Event Planning and Photography provides a unique style that will help you capture an unforgettable and timeless event. ANG provides in-house photography, videography, with experienced eyes and artistic creativity. We work with vendors and venues. Let us capture your vision and bring it to life. For more information, 512-494-4492. That's 512-494-4492 or email angeventplanningandphotography@gmail.com.
Tune in Mondays and Thursdays to Gospel Flavor, a little something for everyone's taste, with your host, Emmanuel Lemuel Jr.
Hi, my name is Terry Callahan, and you're listening to The Voice of Austin. That's 88.7 FM.
And we are back to the Iron Sharpens Iron program, and we have a caller on the line. Caller, thanks for calling, and you're on the air.
I was just calling. I just wanted to talk with someone about an incident that happened with my son. He's incarcerated, and it was so much went wrong with the case, and how, first-time offender, they called it, but they give him like 80 years. A young man that never been involved with the police at all. But, and then they slapped us with an all-white jury, and the judge and everything was just so racially. And I
didn't mean to cut you off. What county did that happen in?
In Travis County.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, something just got to be done about our black men, young men. Yeah, they make mistakes. Yeah, they get, do things just like everybody else. But why is we getting 3 times the amount of time that someone else is getting just doing the same crime?
That's a very good. Thank you, caller, so much for calling in. I'm going to let District Attorney Watkins respond to that. Also, just before you go offline, please, when this is over, if you would call our office, MEEELJ, at 512-473-2424.
Okay, hold on. Let me get that number again. 512 what?
473-2424. 473-2424. That's my office phone number, and if you would call and leave a message and with one of our staff to take your information so we can talk to you later in district.
Okay, I appreciate it. I've been trying to. I can't even pick you up in the car, and I can't pick you up in my home.
Okay.
But I had a couple of people called me and told me this is someone that I need to talk with.
Okay, well,
so I'll give your office a call.
We appreciate.
And thank you so much.
We appreciate your call. And
all right.
Craig, can you address that? Just the sentencing for African American minority males and minorities, period, being excessive. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious that people of color get sentences that are much more punitive than you have that others receive. I think that's just a realistic question that needs to be answered. Why is that? I think how you address that is you elect more people that come from those experiences, and they will change it, as opposed to allowing it to continue forward. I'm not saying that if you commit a crime, you shouldn't be punished for it, but the punishment that you are given should be the same as anyone else. And I think it'll take a person that has experienced that to make sure that the punishment is fair.
And that is going to bring me to my final comment or question to you. And I just want to tell the listeners, this is just so wonderful. You can't talk to Craig Watkins enough. At least I can't hear from him enough. Just his thought process and some of the things that he has done and visions for tomorrow and all those things. And I understand that you are in. Craig really is larger than life. He's a real tall guy, and I heard you have on your signature cowboy boots. No matter what he's wearing, he has those boots on. And I'm not a Texan by trade, but whatever. And I want to tell you happy belated birthday on November 16th, Mr. Watkins, and hope that God blesses you with many, many more years. And it brings me to the last. I can't ask you any more questions. We're out of time. I just want to say thank you, Craig, for being with us. And I wish you and your staff a wonderful holiday season. And thank you so much for the work and the impact that not only you've had in Texas, but all across the country. Thanks for your heart and your courageousness and tenacity to keep it moving and keep it real for the people of your county and the state of Texas. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, I just want to thank you for having me on your radio show. This is an opportunity for us to continue the message, and what you do is a testament to the community you live in, and I would encourage people to listen to your show.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
And KZI listeners, you've been listening to the Iron Sharpens Iron program. This is my last show for this year. I thank you so much again for your support. I just want to give a shout out to many of whom I've established great relationships with, and acknowledging those persons that have helped us help others. Shout outs to the KZI volunteers, staff, and board: Nelson Linder, Kwesi Evans, Mark Ott, Mike McDonald, Anthony Snipes, County Judge Sam Biscoe, Yvonne Williams, State Representative Dukes, all those persons, Precinct 1, Justice of the Peace, and to my staff at MEEELJ, thank you. My kids and family members who just keep my heart beating. I just appreciate you all allowing me the opportunity to help others. Can't say this enough. Doesn't matter what you drive, how much you make, where you live, or what you look like. If you don't give nothing to help somebody else, you haven't said much. We need to keep
the views and opinions expressed throughout KAZI's broadcast today are not necessarily the views or opinions of KAZI's board, staff, sponsors, or volunteers.
You're listening to Iron Sharpens Iron with Latreese Cooke. If you'd like to donate to support this and other programming on Austin Community Radio, email Bob at kazifm.org. Thank you.